What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Subconscious Elements Podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things spiritual, relationships, books, movies, legends, myths, anything that has to do with the life's journey. And I'm happy that you're here tuning in. Today, we're talking about the 14th gene key, and I'll let my co-host, Tori, take it off.
So the 14th gene key is the possession of great measure. And at the shadow frequency, we have compromise. Towards the gift frequency, we have competence. And at the Siddhi level, we have bounteousness. The 14th gene key is within the ring of fire, which also ties in the first gene key. And it's also, the programming partner is the 8th gene key. And physiologically, we can find this within our small intestines, and it also has to relate to the amino acid lysine. So possession in great measure. This was depicted as having a large wagon with you. And when you're born with this fire in the belly and enthusiasm and dreams. And as you proceed on your life's journey, oftentimes the wagon can leak the goods that you were born with. And so you can have spoils and lose the gifts that you were born with by moving through society's structures. And we can see this as we're growing older when we have all these dreams and ambitions. And as we move forward in life, we kind of see these as just like a passing phase and not something realistic and not something truly achievable. And this is when compromise can take root in your life and you start to let go of these higher aspirations, whether it's because you have influence in your life of people saying like, oh, that's not achievable, or just going through life and doing things through the patterns that are set there for you rather than trying to seek another way to move through life. So it's kind of like we're set in a structure that isn't really built for someone to aspire to these great things. And it's almost very difficult for anyone to achieve anything outside of that. So,
Right, like societal pressures. Throwback to the movie Soul, where the mom wanted the main character, I don't remember his name, but he wanted to be in a band and chase his dreams of being a professional jazz musician. But his mom wanted to take the job at the high school so that he had security with health and benefits. And right, so it's like a lot of us seem to be split, choosing between these desires that we have and then playing it safe for society, or not even society, but like trying to fit in as well, right? Because to be really good at anything, you have to isolate yourself and kind of put your selfish needs before your social needs. And so a lot of times you'll see, because people want to make friends and hang out and be accepted, that they'll give up the lonely nights practicing and whatnot that make it so that you can chase your dreams.
mm-hmm. Yeah, putting in the work behind the scenes to be able to even achieve such a goal, a high standard or goal. Yeah, for sure. It was saying that when compromise takes root in your life, you lose the sense of freedom. And so you're just kind of like a cog in the machine, and you're just like another faceless player in the game, essentially. Kind of like the movie Free Guy, where you're just like moving through life and you're not really doing anything great. You're not really doing anything bad. You're just like in the background, essentially. And it was saying that when we're born with these dreams and enthusiasm and just general enjoyment for life. And if you have someone in your life that can be an influential person towards like protecting that and allowing you to express that in the ways that you feel is right, then you can continue to have the same drive throughout your life. But I feel like also, even if you go through the path and then you lose that same enthusiasm or enjoyment or fulfillment, that you can regain it. Like, it's not ever lost forever. It's like, well, if you lose your way, you can still find your way back, you know?
Right. Yeah, for sure. So then essentially trying to figure out what your true purpose or like what you really want to do is a whole thing in of itself, right? And so part of this is, one, you kind of got to know what it is you want so that you can have some type of driving force, and then you can be aware of what's compromising, what's not compromising. Well, I know that one of the practices for this gene key is that self-reflection. But yeah, that's so the shadow compromise. It's always that joke too. Like Joe Rogan makes a joke about how he lives with 3 women or 4 women. I think he has 3 daughters, I think, and then a wife. So no sons. And he's just saying that, like, he says, like having a mountain of marbles, and he's like trying to protect his marbles, but they only take 2 every day, and he just, like, for the sake of his sanity, lets them have 2, and the next thing he knows, he has no marbles left. And that's kind of like being depicted here, right? With the compromising. Yeah.
Yeah, it was saying that it not only matters the choice of work that you do, but also the way in which you do the work. And this is very true. It's like, regardless of the work that you're doing, you should always try to do it to the best of your ability. And if you can tie the work that you're doing towards a larger goal or dream, then you can see it as a stepping stone and necessary for the time and place that you're currently at, so that can, like, push you towards that future goal.
Right.
So you're not just sitting there and like, well, I hate this job. And thinking those thoughts will affect your actions. So it'll reflect in your work, and then it'll almost be certain that you will not get the promotion, or you won't achieve the next level of whatever you're doing, because you're not enjoying and you're not fulfilled by the work that you're doing, and you're not being like a key player in the workplace.
Right.
So
Jordan Peterson's been talking about that recently. He was just on a podcast talking about it multiple. But this idea that you have to look forward to the future with your highest goal possible, with your highest self in mind. And when you do that, it shapes the way that you think about things. And so it's pretty trippy that this is the gene key that is in court. Like the one that we're going over now is like directly in correlation with it. Yeah, if you perceive it as a waste of your time, you will treat it as like a waste of your time, and you won't give it your best. But if like you're saying, you can tie it to something that's a stepping stone, you'll go at it with your best foot forward. And because when you do things with the future in mind, you'll do them in, I would say, like a better manner, right? It's like, if you're working with the company and you have a desire to be the best that you can be in that company and move up, you'll approach menial things a lot differently than you're just like, I gotta take out the trash. Instead, it's been like, yo, I'm gonna get ahead on that and get it done before it needs to be done, kind of thing. New studio, but hard at work trying to make this thing look super nice. The design is by Tori. I have been the art collector though, and she's the designer. But yeah, it's been pretty trippy to see the first one into now. And yeah, we're super happy to be here and super to have y'all on.
So so every time we get a piece of mail, I'm like, oh, what do we have now? I'm like, we don't have enough room for all this stuff. And he's like, but look at this one. It's like a UFO with a cat. And I'm like, okay, it is pretty cool. We're gonna have to find somewhere to put it. So yeah, we have all these.
Yeah, we gotta move those down so it's one line.
Yeah, it's still gonna be moved. I'm still gonna adjust it. But it's a work in progress. Yeah. But yeah, let's see. It says that genius is present within every person just by the fact of being born, and that genius is not defined by intellect, which is portrayed by the mainstream. Like, to be a genius, it's always portrayed as you are very intellectually gifted, but rather it refers to tapping into the guiding spirit, and which we can see as like our higher self, and allowing that to guide us rather than anything else. And it was saying at the shadow frequency, there's a lot of background noise. And the background noise is things that people have said to us in our past, or it can even actually be tied to past lives in the human collective consciousness, or thoughts that you've never even really encountered in your own life, but you somehow have a fear for, or you somehow have something blocking you. Like you don't even understand where it came from, but it is affecting you, your thoughts and your actions. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, like generational trauma.
Yeah, generational trauma.
Trauma.
Yeah, I was saying this side of the ring of fire is a spark which has to be fanned into action. So I thought that was a nice little symbolism right there. Just like it's not the entire raging, burning fire. It's something that you have to tend to and protect and create yourself. But this spark exists within all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Now we all have the same ability to reach a higher potential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, this kind of reminds me of like creating content. If you're on Instagram, you can make content about anything. If you're on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, there are people out there making people laugh with the most random ideas in the world. Like there's a guy who has clips with millions of views of just like staring at people. There's people doing like thumb shadows. There's people chugging beers that are getting views. So it's like whatever it is. Like I know a guy, he reached out to me. He wanted to do boat memes. He wanted to do a boat comedy page. I was like, dude, easy, bro. Easy boat comedy. I don't know nothing about boats, but I can make some people laugh on some boat memes, and it's just like how we started this podcast. You just do it and then you figure it out. You do it and then, if we did it to make money, bro, wouldn't happen, right? This thing's just eating money, but has nothing to do with the money. This is fun. This is us having a good time and
passion project.
Yeah. We get to make it the way that we want to make it, and like we go back and listen to these episodes, and we're like, okay, we got to fix this. Oh, we could do this. This will make it a little better, and then we have fun. And like I get excited when we get to find ways to express ourselves and new things to talk about, new movies to watch. Like there's a little bit of stress that comes with it, but it's just like anything where I know that we'll look back on this and be like, yeah, remember when we did that podcast? We won't remember none of the bad times. We'll remember all the times that we did do it. And this will exist for forever on YouTube. So it's like, if you guys go back and watch the first one, just listen to how bad it is. Tori's literally cried about it on episodes 1 through 10. So it's but just that. So I'm telling y'all, if y'all want to do something, you just start doing it, and the next thing you know, it'll be something greater than you. But that's what this kind of one, this Gene Key is kind of reminding me of.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I had a little interaction with someone, and they were like, "Well, what'd you do today?" I was like, "Oh, I've been working on my podcast," and they were like, "Oh, your podcast? That's cool. How many followers do you have?" I was like, 70. He was like, 1,000? 70,000? That's a lot. I was like, no, just 70. He's like, 70 million? I'm like, no, 70. He was like, oh, all right. And just kind of like didn't say anything after that. And I was like, well, that's awkward. And I'm like, 70 really is a lot if you think about it, because we're just talking about things that we've learned on our path. It's like, we're not famous people or anything, so why would we have 70,000 followers, But
I think about it. Someone told me, so I have my other podcast that has a bunch of people on it, and some of the podcasts do really well and get like 4,000 views or so, and some of them get like 100, a couple like 200. And it's like from the view of having videos that get thousands of views, you're kind of like, oh. Well, one of my buddies was like, dude, you're telling me you got anywhere from 100 to 200 people that want Scotty P in their ears? He's like, dude, that's pretty fucking cool. And I'm like, yeah, it really is. And it's like the same thing with any Instagram pages. You get a couple thousand followers on social media. That's, you have like a little audience.
Yeah, and it was saying that compromise cannot bring you to prosperity. It makes you a follower rather than a creator.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we've been going through that. It's like we could just very easily, stop doing the podcast and it would be less stressful for us, like you said, because we do have to prepare a lot for these things. It's like we have to study, we take time away to do that. But we are doing this for something bigger than just ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like stepping out of the fear and just doing something. Because most people would never even put their face on a camera. So whatever that looks like in translation to your life, where you could be doing something that could be benefiting people, but you're not, whether it's anything in any way, people hold themselves back for reasons.
Reasons. What else you got written over there?
We can go to the repressive nature, which is impotent, which is a person who is unconsciously dominated by fear. And
Dominated by fear?
Yeah, so saying impotence, it's basically whenever you are doing something unfulfilling and you can even see another way of doing it, but you still choose to stay in the cycle. Because to choose otherwise is to step into the unknown and to embrace a lonely path. It's like you have to go on your own outside of the structures in order to create a new way. And it was saying that impotence is also another double connotation with sexuality, which is referring to fertility specifically, and saying that fulfillment goes hand in hand with fertility, and to live an unfulfilled life is to deplete your own fertility and vibrancy. And so saying like to love what you do, you are creating abundance, creating fertility, creating vibrancy in your life. And when you're doing something unfulfilling, the opposite is true. So I think that's very important to note because you can see the decreasing birth of babies currently. It's like we know a lot of people personally that are infertile. We know a lot of people that can't have kids. They're choosing not to have kids. And it's like, I believe that can go hand in hand with doing what you love. And it's like, are these people really happy with their life? If they were happy in their life, would they have a different state of mind? Would they choose to have children, So it's like that goes hand in hand. So doing what you love or finding a way to love what you do can create abundance, like I said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of my favorite stories about trying to teach Marines to like have role models and to be role models is that you can't, like, no one chooses a role model that doesn't love what they do, right? So I ask them like, who's their role model? And you get like the Michael Jordan, the Kobe Bryant, the dad, a Marine or whatever. And it's like, you think that person hates their job? And the answer is always no. And it's like, you think they love their job? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, maybe it's not even they love to be a Marine, but they love to be a husband and a dad. So Marine comes, being a good Marine is being a part of that. So then they're willing to be the best Marine they can be, because being the best Marine they can be means they can better be able to provide for their family, so, you don't get to be the greatest of all time if you don't absolutely love basketball. If you don't absolutely love football, you don't absolutely love jiu-jitsu, you don't absolutely love whatever it is, because to do it consistently will require sacrifices. And again, like shaping the way that you think about the things. It's like if you're always in a bad mood because you hate it, you're not going to be able to inspire people with your enthusiasm. And I would tell the Marines, like, you don't have to love being a Marine. Like, you don't. You can love being a warrior. Because, there's like this idea that, the Marine Corps kind of controls you.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can be like, and like, based on your leaders, sometimes you can get screwed a couple times, like stuff like that, to where it just makes you not like the Marine Corps that much. And I sympathize with those feelings, but I tell them it's like, what if you love being a warrior? What if you love being a husband? What if you love being a dad? Well, then being a Marine is easy. Really. I would be like, how hard is it to be a Marine if you wake up on time and do what you're told? Like, that's literally all that you have to do. Be where you're supposed to be and do what people tell you to do. Like, you don't have to like critically think, and you don't have to learn on your own. They tell you exactly what to do, and it's pretty basic. It's like, and I go, can a Marine sleep in? Can you hit the snooze on your alarm? And some they always think it's a trick question. They're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, you can. I snooze my alarm all the time. You can get up as long as you're where you're at supposed to be. You can sleep in. But if you're a warrior, do you sleep in? Do warriors sleep in? And the answer is no. You literally might die. So there is no sleeping in. You wake up to the highest form of your discipline. You wake up every morning. You train every day because your life is at stake. If you have kids that are relying on you, you don't sleep in. You get up and you do what you got to do. Same thing with being a husband, father, all that stuff. And so it's like, if you set yourself up for that, being a Marine comes easy. And then you can still have all the success that comes with that of being competent in what you're doing. You know, if you're doing everything that you're supposed to do so that you can make more money, being a Marine's not hard at all. So again, kind of like circling back, right? Like giving them the higher goal to chase than what's in front of them. Cause some people are like, I just want to get out. And it's like, I get that, dude. But you still got 2 years. You want to attack these 2 years to the best of your ability so you can set yourself up for success when you get out. You don't want to just be like, oh, I'm just going to coast until it's done with. And it's like, dude, you're going to get out and you're going to wish you would have done some certs or something, So kind of just, it all circles back to whatever you're doing, you should have some type of goal higher. And it should all kind of like align, right? That's what I was talking about too, is like when it all aligns, and then it all makes sense. It's easier for me to do dishes if I think about like not that you don't have to do them, then it's not so bad. But if I'm like, I'll never get the motivation to do dishes on my own. But if I'm like, Tori's had a long day, and if I do them, then she don't have to do them, then it's not so bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was saying...
I suffer for her. I suffer.
It's so much suffering.
Hey. It's suffering. Maybe only the male's minds know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I texted him today. I was like, your sins have been forgiven. He washed the dishes. Like, this will not be forgotten. This will go down in the history books. Yeah, so saying compromise negates good fortune and synchronicity. So when you're in the state of compromise, you basically don't experience synchronicity. You don't experience good fortune. It's just like a impossibility because you are vibrating at such a low frequency that these possibilities can't happen to you or for you. But at the reactive nature, so we just said the repressive, we have the reactive nature, which is enslaved. And this is the opposite of the repressive. So this is when someone's in a job and they don't enjoy it, but they're in that job because they are trying to prove their worth. And you can see this with people outperforming in almost like detrimental ways to the self, where they're like putting themselves in compromising positions just to prove that they're worth something. But it almost is always in such like a negative light that it never works out for them. And so it's like, well, I'm in the top 1% of performance. And it's like, yeah, but your spirit, your personality, like you're actually doing more harm to the team than someone that performs at a lower rate and is not detrimental to the team. Someone that, comes into work with a good attitude and they're actually nice to people is way more important and for the team than someone that performs at a very high rate and just is in a negative mood, just tries to tear people down. And that comes to the point of like cohesion in a group, cohesion in a relationship. It's that very differentiation of spirit, like the way you approach a thing. It's like, it doesn't matter that you're performing that high because you're not a good person. No one likes you. It's like, we would honestly prefer that you just don't work here. And it's like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's like, we really wish you were nice, but you're not. It's like, I actually worked with a guy who is like, I'm not here to make friends. And I always told him whenever he would say that, because he would say that very often, I would say, yeah, well, you're not here to make enemies either. And he would just be like, I don't care. And I'm like, all right, well, you can't really like break through to a person in that state. It's like, yeah, I understand. Maybe you don't have a lot of friends in your life, but it would probably benefit you to have a friend or two. Like, but the very fact that he's like just trying to like outshine everyone, it's like no one wants to be his friend.
Yep. The meta.
Yeah, we
The
saw
game
that
with-
in the Inside Out, where she was like in the hockey game and she was just trying to perform because she put this standard on herself, and she actually hurt her teammate in the process of winning a goal. And they were like, they didn't give her the cheers and excitement that she had thought that would happen. So they were actually like, hey, what's wrong with you? And it set her into like a spiraling emotional breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah, we see this a lot, right? Where, yeah, what was the example you just got? I know it was a hockey game, but what were you saying?
Enslaved, and how like people try to outshine someone to the detriment of the team. Or they come in with a
Yeah,
negative attitude.
one of the guys that I trained was just telling me how the main thing he's struggling with right now on his team is how do you teach someone to be nice? And it's like this one of the head doctors he works with, and apparently they're just mean to the team. Like, not he said they're not mean, they're just this person just says like rude things to the team members. Like, they'll ask about pay and they're like, we're not talking about that right now, and then like change the subject. And it's like he's trying to like break through to them that like it matters to them. So if you don't have to discuss it, but you don't just cut them off and be like, well, we're not talking about that. He was like, what you would want to do is like, I understand this is important to you, and I do have some more, I need a little more time to get back with information on that, but we do care about y'all getting paid. Like, essentially, like, you want to like be relatable and be able to like we're talking about, inspire the team. But he's saying that this person's like super difficult and then like has a wall up, and he was like, just like trying to pick my brain. He's like, I want you to think about it. He's like, I need some help with this person. I need to figure out how do you teach someone to be nice? And that is like a crazy question, because it doesn't matter how good you are at your job. If you're rude and you don't connect with people, you bring everybody down.
Yeah, I was saying that basically competence, you cannot have one incompetent team member to have a competent team. Everyone must have the same goals in mind and all be aligned to that goal and inspired and working towards it together. And everyone's performing at the highest of their abilities, and also being allowed to express their individuality in their skill sets. Like, not everyone's going to bring the same thing to the table, and not everyone should. Everyone should play a part, and being able to step back and allow another person in the team to shine and be in the limelight. It's like, it's not about any one person, it's about the success of the team. And if one person becomes like a ball hog in a sense, then they're outshining other players, and then the other players don't want to play. It's like, we have to have everyone working together and doing their job and being inspired during the process. But yeah, I do work with someone that, it's just like they're in their own way. And it's like, they're a good person, they're nice, but they can just be mean for no reason. You just don't understand. Like, and I just think that it's, when you allow compromise to affect you in your life, it becomes a habit, and this habit can affect you and take over. And so it becomes like unconscious behaviors, whether it's verbal, nonverbal, and they're unaware of it because maybe they're overwhelmed, they're overworked, they're stressed, they're thinking about something else. And they are coping with their reality by just playing their unconscious habits instead of like being aware, being present, and affecting their reality in a positive way that they want. They're just moving through these cycles that has worked for them to survive, but they're not positively affecting the environment in ways that they are capable of. And like you said, it's like the self-awareness and being able to self-adjust. Like if someone tells you, hey, or gives you advice, which is necessary when you're working in a team environment, you should try to take that advice and really reflect on it in a non-emotional way, non-polarizing way. It's like, hey, well, I didn't really like that they told me that, but this is an opportunity and a gift for me to improve. So
Interesting. Very interesting. So is it talking about coworkers, you think? Or is it talking about family, you think?
Talking about both.
You think it's talking about relationships? What happened to also makes sense for relationships too, right? Let's talk about competence.
Okay. It said competence is fire in the belly. So, and it also said efficiency, enthusiasm, flexibility, and flair are the 4 key pieces to material success. So being enthusiastic, having flair, flexibility, being able to move laterally and logically simultaneously whenever needed, like being able to adapt to the situation. So multitasking. So it's like in one moment you can be exuding your personality and style, but in the next moment you have to be so precise and so focused on the task at hand that you have to be able to switch on and off. It's like if you're just one thing, that's fine. Maybe we have a place for you, like sometimes you just need someone that's really good at one thing, but you really want is someone to be able to do everything really good. And so the more that they gain skills in communication and physical, then they can adapt to expanding consciousness. But being able to move through life in multitudes of fashions on the fly. So
you said flexibility. What was the last one?
Efficiency, enthusiasm, flexibility, flair.
Flair. Yeah, so I definitely want to talk about competence. Competence is a big thing in the Marine Corps. But I want to brag on you for a little bit for your competence because, that's what you exhibit in the bar, right, as a bartender. I was talking to someone how you work at Mastro's and they're like, dang, that's like a super high-end bar. And I'm like, yeah, Tori's like the best one there. But this idea of competence, it's like what you strive for in the Marine Corps, where you don't just want to be, like you want to be known as someone who can handle any issue. And to be able to handle any issue, you have to know all the fundamentals and you have to have the foresight to be able to adjust between the rules, right? It's like, you can't be like a rule follower and be competent because if you're over there like, well, rule 364I states that the Marine Corps standard is and you're like, oh, come on, dude. Christ, the mission is at hand here.
You have to adapt and move forward, guys.
Yeah.
You can't stay behind.
Or like I remember one time I went to SeaWorld or the zoo or something, and this old lady was like, I need you to come through over here. Like I walked through the wrong one. She's like, can you walk back out and then come over here and walk through this one?
I was like, I'm already through.
I'm like, first she was like looking at my ID and I was like, beep, beep. I'm literally standing in this line just watching and she's like, taking her sweet ass time, and then she's like, okay, and then I walked through. She's like, oh, sure, I need you to go. I'm like, oh Christ! I'm like, walk through and go through the other one. I'm like, what does it matter? It's like, let me through this thing. And it's like the real states that you must come through this line. But no, the same thing in the Marine Corps where it's like everyone always wants to ask a question. It's like you can tell them to do something. They're like, oh, you want it like this or do you want it like that? Dude, like someone be like, I swear, like people, like my peers, quotations, would be like, "Hey, which way do you think you want me to do it? You think I should do it like this or like that?" I'm like, "Doesn't matter, dude. Just get it done. Whatever you think." And I'm like, "Okay, okay." Oh, Sergeant. I'll go ask the boss, and I'm like, "Bro, stop asking questions, dude." Like I should have just told him. And then it doesn't even matter. I'll tell him like, "Yeah, just do it that way. It'd be good." And then they'd be like, "Oh, okay." Go to Ray. I'm like, "Oh, Christ." And I just remember this one kid too. He was like, had us all in formation. He's like, "Do I call Duff? Which command do I call? Do I march in there? Do I call fallout?" I was standing in front of him. I was like, "Oh, Christ, make a decision." And he's like, "Huh?" But it's like, yeah, that hesitation. And one thing I kind of figured out is like, yo, as soon as I became a corporal, I just started making decisions. I was just like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm gonna make a decision. I ain't gonna be asking somebody, "Is you okay, Station, if I do that?" I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it. And if it's wrong, tell me later and I won't do it again. Ask for forgiveness, not for permission. And it's like, that's like a joke, is like, oh, you just want to get away with something. But it's like, bro, don't be bothering me about a bunch of bullshit. It's like, deal with your shit. Try your best not to fuck it up, but deal with your shit, And I was the guy that was just gonna deal with my shit. Like, if you could be called a fire and forget missile, like that was like a high compliment. It's like, yeah, he's a fire and forget missile. You just send him off and he's gonna do the job. And when he comes back, it's gonna be done. I ain't gotta worry about it.
Mhm.
Like, that's what you want to be, not like it's always
You gotta babysit.
yeah, where you're like,
Let me hold your hand, guy. You need me to walk you to the bathroom too? Jesus Christ.
you're like,
You know how to wipe your butt? Come on now.
yeah. Or you give him a task and then you go back to doing your shit and you're like, God damn, I know he's gonna fuck it up. And you gotta go storm back there and be like, you know where it's at, right? And you're like, huh? Oh wait, I'm not supposed to do it. They're like, no, dude, I do it this way. No, I fucking showed you this. You did. Oh man. But yeah, but yeah, your level at competence, behind the bar is like you're able to take orders, make drinks, tell people what to do, like all at the same time. And one of the funny things too that we come to see a lot of times too is like people come to brag about like their skills in like one area. Like they're like, "Oh, I was the best bartender," or "I was the best at making drinks." And it's like coming from like a manager or like someone in a senior position. It's like their favorite thing to say is like, "Yeah, well, when I was a bartender, I'd make all these drinks, blah, 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 blah." And it's like, no one cares. No one cares about your skill at making drinks. That is one small thing. If you make it to manager, that is like making drinks for a bartender is like one small aspect of it. And then now you're at the manager level, still talking about the easiest part of the job. Like your job is to handle the troops, like to manage the entire team. Your job, you're not being paid manager pay because you're the best drink maker. No one cares. It's like, can you manage this team and inspire them to come together and accomplish a mission? Or are you just back there fucking crying about everything and saying how, oh, if you did it, it would somehow be different kind of thing. And you see so many people at the higher top, like number one thing that would drive me nuts while I was in is just like, oh, back in my day, it's like, oh, Christ, here we go, fucking master on so-and-so. I literally just like,
you guys could tune it out.
Yeah.
What did I do? I started tuning it out. I'm like, I've heard this story 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Back when I was in charge of it, I was like, oh, Christ. Or like another one that people would make fun of people for is, my old unit. It's like any new unit that you're at, there's always the guy that talks about his old unit. He's like,
and the old unit was almost never the way that they depicted.
yeah, right.
Like everyone hated you in that unit. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
like someone in the back of the crowd, they're like, shh.
Yeah. All you did was complain. No, it's the same kind of people that stay in. They literally bitch the whole time they're in, and then they get someone pregnant, and then they sign up again, and they're talking about, oh yeah, back when I was there, and they're like, dude, you literally all you did was cry the whole time about what we were doing, because you just have to do shit that sucks, right? And it's like everyone complains. Everyone's like, oh Christ, we gotta do this. Like, yeah, it's like a joke, but then if the only thing that every time we're talking is like, oh dude, I can't wait to get out, dog. All my friends are in college, blah blah blah, and it's like when I get out, I'm going to college, dude, man. Fuck this place. They don't give a fuck about us, bro. Blah, 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 blah. They don't pay us enough, bro. This is some bullshit, bro. And it's like nonstop with it where you're just like, dude, it sucks, but also just shut up, dude. Like this, you complain, you're making it worse. Like, cause trust me, man, when you're in it, it's fun to kind of complain, but then there's always those people that just never shut up about it. And it's like, oh, everyone is screwing them at they're always getting the shit out of the stick. And it's like almost always those guys end up signing up again because they just got used to the paycheck or got someone pregnant or got married or whatever. And then they're in again.
Stuck in the cycle.
Yep. And then the same ones are like, oh, at my old unit. And I'm like, but to the competence thing, right? Anyone who's competent just like gets past all that shit, because none of that stuff matters. It's like, can we do, like the best possible job? And that just comes from caring, honestly. It's like when you care, then it's like a building of awareness and abilities where you're just like, I'm gonna handle that. I'm gonna handle this. I'm gonna handle that. And then being able to, also, I think it comes from like communication skills too. Like you're not competent if you can't speak. Like one of the first things that you can like tell someone who's competent is like the way they carry themselves and then how they address people. And then, that shines too in like what you do because you're the only one that can handle tables. Like all your people, they won't even take tables. They'll just like work behind the bar and they just want to focus on the bar task because they don't want to also have to talk to the customers. Guests. Right.
Yeah. So you can get so tunnel vision and like doing something that you don't want to like step out of that and just overwhelm yourself even more. And apparently the shift before I worked, it was so bad that I heard about it. I wasn't working, but I heard about it the next day. And for some reason, whenever I came in, they were like, yeah, you're working at this bar. I'm like, all right, I actually like that bar more. And they're like, good. And so then I went to say hello to my coworkers at the other bar. I was like, just wanted to say hello before the war, boys. And I did like a little salute. And one of them was like, hey, why are you at that bar? I thought you were at this bar. And I was like, oh, well, I think it's because the bartenders that worked that bar last night did such a bad job that they put me over there. And the bartenders that worked that bar the other night before they were there, and it was like, well, it wasn't that bad. I was like, I just walked away. I was like, that's what I heard.
That's not what I heard.
And so it's like, yeah, it might hurt them, but also they should improve, Yeah, so I was at that bar, and that one is more stressful because you not only have a bar top, you also have to make drinks for the entire restaurant on your side. And then you also have tables, so you have 5 tables. And it can get really busy and really crazy. And there's only 2 bartenders, and then you have 1 bar back. And so the managers, they just kept, I think it was because, like there's people that work back there that are not very good at their job. So they always come over there and they check. They're like, hey, can I do anything for you? And I'm just, I'm so used to the chaos of this place that it no longer faces me. So just there, and I'm like, yep, nope, we're good. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, we're good. And I like instilled this confidence because I have confidence in my abilities. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that I'm going to make it out and I know I'm going to do a great job. It's like, I am not worried. Please do not think that I need your help because I do not. And if I do, it'll be to the absolute last minute of me trying everything I possibly could, and then maybe I might need your help. But it still won't be as bad as any other cataclysm you've seen in the past couple of days. It's like, please don't go out of your way to check on me because I can guarantee that it most likely will not come to a point any close to that. So it's like, they could just tell. They were like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm good. And so whenever they ask the other people that, it's just like panic and sweat and just madness. The opposite of confidence is like, please help me, whatever you can. It's like, well, what do you need help with? I don't know. It's like they don't actually need help with anything. They're just incapable with dealing with the chaos of the situation, So that's pretty interesting. It's like once you reach a certain level of confidence in competence, it's like I don't only worry about one bar, I worry about both bars at all times. And it was a very funny joke that my coworker made yesterday. He worked a morning party, so he was literally working he was at his 10th hour of the night. I was like, bro, go do some whatever your side work is and get out of here. And I was like, don't tell anyone, because if you tell someone, they're gonna say no, and then you're gonna stay here longer. He was like, wait, That's how I got in trouble last time. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, if you want to play by their game, I guess you can go ask someone, but then you'll stay here longer. And then that's fine with me too. But I'm just looking out for you. And he was like, just torn between what should I do. He's like, he knows I'm right, but also we're freaking trapped into this stupid reality that we can't make decisions for ourselves without having someone above us tell us yes or no. And so it's like, I am so in tune with the reality of the bar and the reality of the teammates and everything that, like, I know what's best in the moment. And I'm not looking out just for myself. I'm looking out for everybody. Like, I know that guy's had a long day, so, I want to get him home. And it's just so, it sucks because I can't make that decision. So,
Right.
and
So
when
trying to
I
micromanage
do
it.
make that decision, I get in trouble.
Yep.
So I told Victor, or I told my coworker, I was like, we should make a list of all the things that I say that have gotten you in trouble. And then we just started listing stuff. And we're like, well, Manager Tori said, that's what he always says. He like mocks me. And that's exactly what I tell the managers too. And the manager's like, you're not a manager. And I'm like, yeah, but also I'm trying to help you guys. Like, do you really want to make all these decisions? Like, just let me help you.
Yeah, and it's so funny is like in the Marine Corps, you wish you had someone like that.
Yeah.
Like someone
I'm doing
underneath
you a
you,
favor.
it's like that's what you look for. You look for someone who's like, yeah, I'm in charge here, but I ain't got time to be babysitting y'all. So who's the most competent of you three? Oh, you? All right, you're to make sure that them two are squared away and you're to let me know. Just let me know. And that's like the thing is like, give them the ability to make the decision, but let them know. So that's what it should be at the bar is like, you just let someone know. They're like, yeah, you're doing it. I'm good. I'm going to let them know. And then they should just be like, good to go. Thanks for letting me know. So that way, because the reason they want I got to make the decision is because they want to be like the one, like one, that they did it. And then two, so they know about it. But it's like, dude, give them the freedom and the responsibility to make the decision for themselves and then to just let you know. So that way you're not blindsided from the general manager. So that way if the GM comes by or whoever is in charge, like, be like, oh yeah, no, I told him Tori's got it. She's good to go. Other dude's wrapping it up. He's been here since morning. Because those details slip. But if you can have someone who's like in the cut that's telling you so that you can, because everything's like, you want to be like a liaison. It's like everyone's a liaison to somebody else. Right, like a go-between, and it's like the bar manager is the go-between the manager and the GM. He's making sure the bar is good, but in order to make sure the bar is good, he's still got a bigger scope. So you're the one actually behind the bar, and you want someone who can round the troops up. That's not a manager that's below. It's like that's why there's a ranking system in the military. It's like they teach you from the very beginning that if there's more than one Marine, someone's in charge, and like they have a whole system. It's like. Because if something goes wrong, it's someone's fault. Like you can't just be like, oh, I thought it was him. Oh, I thought it was him. It's like, no, who was in charge? One of y'all signed up before the other. So even if you're the same rank, whoever signed up before or whoever got promoted last, like you go all the way down and then it goes on you. So that way it's like your incentive to make sure that your battle buddy so again, it's way easier when there's more people because there's actual separate ranks. But it's like, if you're a corporal, you look up to the most senior lance corporal. If you're a sergeant, you look up to your most second, your best corporal. It doesn't have to be the most senior rank. You could be literally your best. But then you go, hey, you're in charge and make sure these guys are doing what they're supposed to do and Roger up with me in the morning kind of thing. But then if there isn't that structure and it's literally you and someone else, you have to figure it out. Be like, hey, yeah, dude, it'd be me that's making this decision.
Yeah, I mean, we all come to a mutual agreement. It's not like I've been called bossy before, but it's like, I don't see myself as bossy. I guess you can like misconstrue the situation or energy or whatever, but I don't ever try to be bossy. I just try to make the decisions.
She has initiative.
Yeah.
That's what we call it in the Corps. It's initiative. And that's always, because if you want to be good, you have to have initiative. Like, cause that's what the people at the top look for. It's like, are you doing this shit without me even having to tell you? Because it's annoying if you have to tell someone. It's like if you have to tell them, that's like time taken away. But if they can already be doing it, like looking ahead and being like, yeah, we went ahead and cleaned this and went ahead and washed that, and you always tell us to do this, so we just went ahead and did that too. And you're like, oh fuck, thank you, you guys are good. Get out of here, good job, that kind of thing, right? But it's like, yeah, it's always annoying. Like, dude, do I literally have to tell you every command? Because they're like, well, what do we do next? Like sometimes that happens in jiu-jitsu where it's like you tell them to do one thing and they're just sitting around. I'm like, do I have to tell you every little one? Like, yeah, now do this, now do this. Like, just go, just figure it out and do something. Be productive. Go, go, go. And so, back to what we're talking about is some people are perceived as bossy because when you take the initiative, you're like, you know, you don't always have like the time to be like, all right, guys, this is what we're doing today. It's just like, all right, hey, you do that, you do this, and I'm going to do this. Let's go. And some people are like, well, we have to do that. Why just always bossing us around, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, at least he's doing something, you know? It's like, because in the Marine Corps, like you have missions, but then sometimes there's just nothing to do. And so it's really easy for everyone to sit around and be on their phones. And so it's super easy, especially when you join a unit and there you see other people doing it. It's just like, you just pull out your phone. But then it's like, yeah, maybe you don't have like a specific thing to do, but you can find something to do. Because if someone of a higher rank walks in and sees you, you don't want to be fucking, yes, sure. You want to kind of be like, at least pretending to do something, you know? That's like would be a joke too. Is like, hey, I don't care what y'all are doing, but y'all better be pretending to be doing something. Like it better look like you're doing something. He's like, I don't care what you're doing, but it better look like you're doing something. So you bust shit out and you just be on there. And you know, if you're not just gonna sit there and like you tell stories and shit, but you actually do try to do something like, all right, let's fuck with this thing and see if we can figure some more shit out on this Deus or RSAM. Shout out to the wire guys. But yeah, look busy. That was like a main thing. Look busy. Don't just be on your phone like you know, because that's just like the worst look in the world when you're on the clock in uniform and you're fucking watching TikTok videos or something.
Yeah, and there's also a difference between a person that has more initiative, more awareness. They make decisions for people, but they're willing to do the work themselves. They're just like helping the other people make that decision for themselves because maybe they're not even aware of what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'll usually give them an option between one or two. I'll be like, you doing this or this? I'll do the other one. So that way they feel like, oh, well, at least she let me choose, you know? But it's like, both of these things need to be done. There's two of us. I'm doing one, you're doing one. Which one do you want to do? And it's like, I'll do the other. I don't even care which one you pick. So, and same thing with like making drinks. I'll just start doing something. And then if they're not jumping in to help me and they're not doing anything, I'll be like, hey, can you do this while I'm doing this? So it's like, I'm not just sitting around doing nothing.
You're leading by example.
Yeah, telling them, hey, make that, and then not help them. It's like, I'm making something, so also help me make something. And then we can all work together. And then if you instill that practice for time over time, then it just becomes habitual and you don't really have to verbalize it as much. And so it just becomes something that we do. And
yeah.
That I've seen a big difference in the way that is, because when I first started working there, it was like, this is my area. It was like very island mentality. It was like, this is my section. This is my area. You don't come over here. And I don't go over there. You stay over there. And I was like, all right. And it was like almost territorial. It like reminds me of little like crabs. And it's like, even if I'm not busy on this side, I'm not allowed to help him because he doesn't want to help me on my side whenever I'm busy. So it's like, there's really no flow and like alignment, you know?
Yeah.
It's like being able to break that barrier between that person and be like, hey, like, I know maybe people haven't really helped you in the past, and maybe that's a reason why. Like, maybe if you don't even say that out loud, but you can just understand it in yourself, like, there's a reason why he's acting like that. That's maybe because people don't ever help him. It's like, well, let me try to help in any way that I can. Let me try to help this guy. And so you just try to help him, and then over time, he'll try to help you. And it just becomes like a new way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This reminds me of when I used to work at one of the restaurants, there was this person that would always like stay busy. And I'd be like, why are you always like doing stuff? And she would tell me, she's like, if I stop moving, time starts slowing down. She's like, I stay busy. From this time to this time, I find something to do. And that literally would motivate me to just do something. Because you do realize, like, man, time just passes by if I just fold these napkins and then do this and then do that. Next thing you know, like a whole hour, 2 hours goes by. But if you're just like sitting around waiting for the shift to pass by, it takes forever. So yeah, I started to get into a habit with her. I'd see her doing something. I'm like, that's a good idea. I'm going to find something to do too. And so, you know, it's like you're doing people a favor if you just help them, give them something to do, you know, it makes shit go by faster.
Yeah, that's the difference. It's like, if you don't know what to do, you can ask. And the other person will almost always be happy to give you a task if you're unsure
And then the next level is to do it on your own, to already know.
Yeah, to be able to understand what needs to be done and do it by yourself.
Yep. I'll tell you, one of the ones I struggled with as a young Marine is initiative. Like, I don't want to do that. Sweep the floor. All right, let's wrap this hoe up. Bounteousness.
Oh yeah. So the Siddhi level, you have bounteousness, and at the Siddhi level, information is transmitted through the morphogenetic field. And
Who you calling a morpho?
yeah, the morphogenetic field is an energetic grid that connects all creatures and beings on a subatomic level. And in my mind, a way to break that down is like the movie Soul, how there was a different plane of existence that holds all information of all life forms before us, through humans and all creatures, all single cell organisms, everything. And it was saying at the highest level that individuality no longer exists, and that individuality is just a myth, and it's just something that we make up in our own mind. It is saying that we are just a cell in a collective being, something bigger than us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely felt that before. That's like the whole thing with in the Marine Corps is like, try to get everyone to act as one unit, you know? Crush out the differences, bring everyone together. And then once you come all together, then your individuality makes a difference because you know how to play your part, but you can only play your part to the best of your ability once you know the part that's to be played. So you break everyone down, build them all back up as one. And then as you go through your training, you become an individual person where you affect the Corps in your own personal way. But yeah, you have to know how to move as one before you can do that. Otherwise, you won't know your part.
Yeah, it was saying that the ego no longer is in the driver's seat, that it drives out the ego. Mm-hmm. So it said that at the highest form, it's most akin to the lowest form of a single cell organism, which is a eukaryote or amoeba, that within the eukaryote, there's just genetic information and then a protective membrane. So you have the nucleus and the membrane. And that it doesn't have awareness, but it has consciousness. And that's the closest thing that we can imagine to the highest level. It's that life is just happening. And we're not really like individual or polarized or emotional towards any which way it goes.
Yeah, it was bringing up how like once you can reach this bounteousness that you affect so many people that everyone experiences this abundance. And that's like why gurus have become so known and powerful, because if you can be around them, you can resonate with their energy or their frequency, which I think is pretty cool. And I've definitely felt that about just in general, maybe not abundance itself, but being around a really good leader definitely does have positive effects on you.
Yeah. Also at the Siddhi level, all identification with the self must be erased from the DNA, including our current realities and all realities that have ever existed on the planet of Earth. And I thought that was interesting because if you can imagine all the structures that have been set into place for so long, and you can imagine also how much different we could make this reality without all of that affecting us. And it said that that's how you unlock the true potential of humanity, is to move without limitations of the past. Like if you can just imagine that from birth we didn't have all these limitations, and the reality that we could create and how different it would be.
Facts. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Kicking and Screaming movie with not Seth Rogen, but the other one, Will Ferrell, Kicking and Screaming, where he's like, and there I was with a clean slate until I met my dad. He's like, I thought I was being born with a fresh start. That was until I met this guy. It's like his dad's always putting stuff on him and making him do things he don't want to do, and always trying to compete with him and one up him. It's just like this joke that it's like, yep, as soon as you're born, you think that you're like about to be you, but you're actually got, as soon as you're born, you got people putting their own things on you. And we obviously know all about that. I think everyone on this planet knows about that. Kids raising kids kind of thing. But yeah, is there anything else you want to say? We got our kitties knocking at our bedroom door. I think that's the universe telling us to wrap this hoe up.
Yeah, I was wondering if, because whenever you do plant medicines, it forces you to dive into these spheres.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if our personal experiences through diving into these spheres, if it affects the whole. It's like at one side you want to say that it's for the greater good of all, and then at another point you're just like, does it even matter? You know, it's like it matters. It's the only thing that matters, and it's nothing matters at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the duality of life.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it helps. I think it's like it helps those who want to do it, and it helps if you don't do it. You know, there's like people who are like, oh, I would never do that. I think I don't want to experience it. I don't want to experience the shadow. I don't want to experience what's down there. Or like, I don't want to mess with a sober mind. And for me, that's like, cool. Like, good. At least one of us is going to stay completely sober, because who knows how this stuff is affecting us long term. So it's like, you do you, and I'm going to do me, you know? So I think that we have to have people that never mess with it, so they can keep us on that side. Like, yeah, you fight for that angle, and I'll fight for this angle, and I'll make sure that anyone who does it harder than me, I'll be the middle person between the guys who go even further than we take it. But yeah, it's like we need extremes of both. Because I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson said he doesn't ever want to do like some mind-altering drug, which is funny because I think we all take mind-altering drugs of some form, right? But he doesn't want to do any psychedelics because he doesn't want to mess with his sober mind. You know, he feels like if he does it once, how will he know he'll ever be the same from before? And to me, that's like good. At least we need smart people that don't do it, and then we need the smart people to do it. And I'll be one of the smart people that does do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, bounteousness can catch like wildfire, so it's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just reaching even a gift level or acidic level can affect the reality. It's like a flowering of awakening in people around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Just the enthusiasm. Yeah, I think we've seen that plenty of times. Anything else? All right. Well, that wraps up the 14th gene key, bounteousness and competence. Yeah, competence is key. Anyone who's competent, I think it like definitely opens up doors. Like when you talk to somebody and you can tell that they're competent about whatever it is they do, you know that that's a high level person, you know?
Yeah. Also, it'll affect your reality in all different directions. Like learning one skill, becoming competent in one skill in one area of your life overflows into other aspects and all things that you do.
Yep.
So it's like just knowing that can affect the way that you do your work, because it's like maybe you're not passionate about it, maybe you're not fulfilled about it, but if you master whatever you're doing, that can affect you in other ways. Maybe it's not your career focus, but just the art of mastery in that area can allow you to open up new concepts, new mind, new ways of thinking.
Now, where you start your own business, that's like the classic move is you go work for a bigger company, learn all the basics, then you move up to a smaller company that pays you more. And then you learn more skills, you get more responsibilities. And then once you're done with that, you move past that and then you start your own business. But yeah, makes sense. Man, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank y'all. We're excited to continue to grow.